Hello, and welcome to another episode of Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. Tonight, we are diving deep into the new dungeon.
Again, really?
Again, yeah. Bungie softballing these in for me. I can't I can't just knock them out of the park and be like, haha, I'm going to just let it sail by. I don't know why I'm doing baseball references now, because this is in the ocean, Myth. I can't play baseball in the ocean, or can I? Can you play baseball in a methane ocean? No, that's a question for another day. Anyway, we are diving deep into this dungeon lore because I have no other words other than it is effing amazing. It's mind blowing. There's moments through this that just really captured me, and just like, I mean, there's a moment in here, and y'all are going to know exactly the moment I'm talking about, when you see something and you're just like, what the hell is this? Like, what is going on? Like, it's mind blowing. It's a fantastic dungeon. If you haven't had a chance to play it, we are going to do like a kind of run through of the who you're encountering there and what's there and why we're there. We're not going to go through any mechanics or anything like that. We try to stick to the lore here. But if you haven't had a chance to play it, definitely go play it. There's collectibles throughout it. We're going to talk about those, as well as a kind of like aftermath of, there's another fire team that got sent in that was sanctioned by the Vanguard, and Ikora's hidden. So yeah, we're going to talk about all that. So let's dive deep, Myth. Haha, I did it again.
You're just trying to see how many times you can fit that in.
He's going to fire me, I swear. This dungeon is called Ghosts of the Deep, plural, more than one ghost.
Yes.
We had to double check that. And it makes sense when you start realizing who is in this dungeon, by way of the different bosses. It takes place on Titan in the arcology. The Titan, the moon, is back. It's a moon of Saturn. It has a methane ocean that we did a whole episode on it on the last days of Kraken Mare. We covered it a little bit in our Shayura stuff, because that's where Shayura's fire team was mainly based out of, with Sloan. Sloane's obviously back. She's kind of like taken. I say she is taken, like partially taken.
Yeah.
Getting there. Yeah. A giant worm is down there, and did we learn through this stuff where the worm came from, or was that the seasonal stuff that we learned where
we learned that through the seasonal stuff. We talked about it in our last episode of the season.
Yep. That's right. So a not disgruntled worm god. She's not angry. A non-corrupted refugee. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. A refugee worm god, and we get confirmation of it being a worm god if you go through and play some of the salvage missions. I don't know if you knew this, Myth, or not. If you go through and play some of the salvage and deep dive missions, you get some lore from Saladin, who actively calls it a I can't remember the exact wording he uses, but essentially a refugee worm god, and he's very questionable if we can trust it or not. So yeah. But yeah, so with that, Myth, where are we starting?
Well, I say we are going to start at the beginning of the dungeon, and
a very good place to start. See, you like it, I'll get some singing in on this one too.
Oh, I'm sure.
You have no idea how often I wanted to sing Little Mermaid throughout the entire dungeon.
I will get some editing in on this one too, then.
Yeah. I deserve that.
So say again, not going over mechanics, but as we enter this dungeon, we start at kind of inside of a broken dome of the arcology on Titan, into an area that is almost like a beachside forest. We've got kind of lapping waves leading up to this very green, forest area. I did love that as you do the fly-in, you can see the tank that was left there by our guardian from the old D2 vanilla campaign.
I love it.
That was pretty cool.
It's so neat to me, because like during that mission, and then of course that area is reused again when you do Cade's secret stash after he passes away in the Forsaken stuff. But you're starting at that end of it and walking backwards to that area. But yeah, every time we got to see that area, you could always look across the lake, which I think the lake inside there is an actual lake. That's not a methane lake. Like this is supposed to be like a biosphere, like a. And that's again another important thing to note about all the stuff on Titan. Everything in there is man-made. None of this stuff was put there. It wasn't terraformed by the Traveler or anything. Everything there was something that we as humanity did during the Golden Age. So this is an actual man-made biosphere. But you could always look out. You could always sit on that bridge and look out across the lake, and there's this whole forest there that you never got to touch. And now we get to touch it and play in it, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And that little flyover, right, man, at the beginning when it shows that tank, I was like, oh,
I know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you had an impact on the world, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so we fly into this forest. We land. The opening of the door doesn't really have anything significant to it other than forcing fire teams to decide what they're going to call the hive symbols.
Oh my God, we have so many new names for these things. Most of them are not appropriate for the show.
Yeah.
But we have so many new names for them now.
So you go through, you're essentially interrupting or taking over a hive ritual to make the entryway available to you, and the entryway leads into a portion of the arcology proper. However, as we have seen through the salvage and the deep dive missions, a good portion of the arcology is underwater, and it returns with that whole find the air bubble mechanic, but allows you to troll your friends by making the air bubbles not universal to everybody this time around.
I was fixed to say, I think they've patched it, Myth.
Oh, did they?
So in Deep Dive, I've noticed this now this week. In Deep Dive and Salvage, they are individual. So if somebody and I don't know if they were that way before, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention, or like once we got to the dungeon and my wife and I were exploring it together, we were like, oh, you've used up a bubble. I have to wait for it to respawn. By the time it respawns, I die. So it's like you got to really like be very careful and really kind of move as a fire team. But I haven't been back into the dungeon this week yet, so I don't know if that's a feature or working as intended. But yeah, we definitely trolled each other with it of like, hey, yes, you need this bubble? Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, and what was really cool though about going through this portion of jumping puzzle traversal, I guess is a better word.
Traversal, yeah.
Is as you're going through the arcology, like it has that very golden age, almost Braytech aesthetic to it.
Absolutely.
And it feels like you're going through this untouched, golden age facility. And it's just it's a really neat vibe. It's almost like I imagine, as someone that's never done this, but it almost feels like you're a diver exploring the wreck of a ship or something. Like,
yeah.
I've
always been fascinated with stuff like that too, like the Titanic and especially the Titanic is probably like the main one that I've always been fascinated with. But any type of World War II, World War I, World War II, ocean wreckage, I absolutely love it. Oh, you know what? I have to laugh because I actually do have experience with this, Myth.
Oh?
When we were in Hawaii, we went on a submarine, and we got to see some shipwrecks and some sharks and stuff. So yeah, it's thinking of it now, that is exactly what it looks like.
Well, there you go.
Granted, the arcology stuff, the Golden Age stuff in the Titan stuff is a lot more cleaner.
Yes.
Like, there's not all the barnacles and stuff built up on it, and all the coral and all that stuff built up on it. But like, there's still that stuff down there. Like, you still come across like areas in the dungeon where it's coral and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very much. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that. Holy cow.
Yeah. So we're progressing through this section of the arcology. We're picking up some collectibles here, but there's nothing really of note other than this is a really cool space.
It is. It's a really cool space.
But we do start to come across, and I suppose we came across them at the entrance as well, the main enemy of this dungeon, which is the Lucent Hive, which tells us maybe a little bit about who it is that is kind of has influence here, perhaps, or is trying to gain something from this place.
There's only one person linked with the I can't say person, entity linked with the Lucent Hive, and that's Savathun.
Yes. Yeah. So very much seems to be that Savathun has something at play in this dungeon, or at least is trying to either prevent people from entering or gain something herself, or a little bit of both. So as we progress through, though, we eventually come upon what ends up being the first boss encounter of the dungeon. And this particular boss is by the name of Ekthar. And for those that played during D1, specifically the Taken King, that name may sound a little familiar to you. Because Ekthar in the Taken King was known as the Sword of Oryx. And if you were going through the quest chain to unlock one of the exotic swords from that expansion, you had to kill this guy.
Oh my God. Was he the guy you had to, and he chased you around the room in the moon?
I think that was him, yeah.
Oh my God. I hated that shit. I hated that fight. This is a very new Destiny player because Taken King, that's where I started. But yeah, I remember that place. That place sucked as like a starter player thing. Like I got to that thing in like a week and was like, oh, look at this thing. And then was like, what in the hell is this shit? I can't kill shit in here. This is bullshit. Like I was pissed. Oh my God. I never made the connection that that's who that was.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So
well, he's a little changed now.
He is a little changed. So obviously he's not dead anymore.
Yeah.
And that is by nature of his new name, which is Ekthar, the Shield of Savathun. So
I see what you did there. Sword and shield, like Pokemon.
Yeah, he just swapped versions with his neighbor.
God damn it.
But so he's transitioned from the Sword of Oryx and presumably has been revived by a hive ghost under either direction from Savathun, or it was just one of the many bodies Savathun collected to see if a ghost would be drawn to it.
The number of entities that Savathun has done that to,
I know,
just blows my mind. Like, I mean, and they were all, oh man, I just made a connection here in my brain that actually is kind of pertinent to this.
Yeah.
They're all things that were very close to her brother.
Yes. Yeah.
So you think of this one, you think of the Alakul, the light blade now.
Yeah.
It used to be the dark blade, now rezzed as a light bearer.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff. Like the sisters were a really tight knit group of three.
They really were.
This dungeon really plays into that, and you see a lot of that through this dungeon.
Absolutely. And I do wonder if I imagine she specifically saw out these beings.
I think so.
The body of Ekthar, the body of the Dark Blade, and whatnot, and resurrected them. I wonder if that's a way of her paying respect in some fashion.
I think so.
To Oryx.
I think so.
I mean, we know that her throne world literally has a
Shrine of the Navigator.
Right. Like, I don't know if a place of worship
is
there. Temple. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. If it's a temple, that to me, that's a place of worship. Yeah, I'd say that's a place of worship.
So, like,
or maybe remembrance.
Yeah.
I could see it as remembrance too.
As memorial. But, yeah. But either way, she had enough, thought highly enough or thought fondly enough of Oryx to dedicate a space to him in the area that literally is a representation of her mind, her
Yeah.
throne world. And we see that again here with Ekthar being revived as her shield. He is a lucent hive now.
He's a freaking shield titan, is what he is.
He's a titan. Yep.
Shield throwing. I'm gonna throw this shit around corners. I hate that. That's the one thing that I hate about the shield titans, especially in like the higher level, like the GM stuff. When you throw you're in a hallway and they just throw a blind shield down the hallway and your whole fire team dies from it. And you're like, well, shit. I guess we're back to orbit there. Like that's the one downfall of this whole thing. That I'm just like, oh, he had to be a shield guy, didn't he?
Or the occasional like suppressing grenade that they'll throw at you
my God,
as you're casting well or something.
As you're casting your super, it's ridiculous. It's just as bad with tormentors. Like tormentors are probably worse about it because they'll just constantly suppress, and you're just like, come on, guy, let me get one well down. That's all I want.
But so say Ekthar is here. He's the first boss encounter. This confirms without a shadow of a doubt Savathun is involved in the hive, in these hive being here.
Absolutely.
If her shield, quote unquote, is there to kind of guard the front entrance and be the first line of defense. So we go through that encounter again, making sure that everyone's on the same page with symbols. And
not safe for work named symbols is what I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah. And we defeat Ekthar, and then that leads us into another kind of exploration section, which is really interesting for a number of reasons. The first one being that during this exploration section, I think is the first time that we ever get the opportunity to see a full Asa swim by.
Yep. Short of like that quick like split second during the opening cutscene, like you get to see her from like a distance in the opening, and like you don't really get to see how big she is, and then from then on out, all you have is her eye. But this one, you get a full view of her as she swims by.
Yeah, and she is big. Like we knew that, but it's something else to see her swim by, right there in front of you. But yeah, so it's just really cool to see her there and get an idea of scale. Because the only other really worm god that we have had the opportunity to see and get an idea of the size of would have been Zol back in the Warmind expansion, which is unfortunately no longer available. But so yeah, it was that just a really cool scene. And then the other thing that's really interesting about this particular exploration section is the fact that the aesthetic has changed quite dramatically. We are no longer going through the kind of old arcology at this point. We are now progressing through the ocean floor to some degree, but also through what appears to be a dreadnought of sorts. But not the dreadnought, not Oryx's dreadnought. You get a couple glances at it from the outside as you're progressing through the different underwater sections. It looks very similar in some ways, but once you start getting up close to it and get inside it, it looks a lot like Savathun's throne world.
Yeah. And this was something. This is another point of theory that I think Myth and I are kind of. I think we're kind of back and forth on this. My first thought, like, anytime I think Dreadnought, first thing that comes to mind is Oryx's Dreadnought of D1. Like that's very much what the shape of this thing. We've had another reference to a Dreadnought during Season of the Lost, I think it was, Smith, where you went into the Ascendant Plane and were saving the Techians.
Yeah, we jumped through some sections that looked a bit Dreadnought-ish.
Yep, and sure. they had a very much. I remember the wing that was all rocks. and had that big tower, and then the boss at the end was the knight, where like you kind of to solo it, you kind of hid down the stairs and like
Yep.
huck grenades at him and prayed because he wouldn't walk down the stairs. Apparently, Hive knights don't know how to use stairs. Except until they turn into Lucent Hive, then they definitely know how to use stairs, and that's just bullshit. But yeah, the dreadnought here, or in the Ascendant plane, I always thought of that as like Zevo Wraths, or like a an Ascendant plane variation or representation of like Oryxes or Zevo Wraths. But then, like what you're saying with this dreadnought underwater, everything about it screams Savathûn. Like it screams Throne World. It's all that white and red and very, very Throne World. But to me, her personal dreadnought was that ring shape one. That at the beginning of Witch Queen campaign, the first thing you do is load yourself into a Cabal cannon and shoot yourself up onto it, and then use a portal from there to get into her Throne World. So that's where like I'm not fully sold on the idea that this dreadnought that we're walking through in the dungeon is her personal dreadnought. I've got kind of two theories on it. One is it was just part of her fleet, and now it's there. My other idea is that it is Oryx's dreadnought, and as a further trying to get close to her brother again and trying to get to her brother, that she has her influence has taken over here and has turned this dreadnought into a Lucent dreadnought.
Yeah, no, I think both of those are pretty sound. I personally am more apt to lean towards it being one of her ships in some fashion, a ship of her fleet, or it does the shape doesn't exactly fit. So this is a little spinfoil, but if you look at her ship on Mars, it is a horseshoe shape.
Right.
And it does look like you could perhaps have had the full circle.
Oh, sure.
And
this could be like a missing section.
Right,
of it.
maybe that section intentionally like detached and is a secondary ship.
Because that's something to make a point of too. These dreadnoughts they're worm gods. Oryx's dreadnought he carved out of Akka, right?
Right, Oryx's dreadnought. I don't believe any of the other Hive ships are described as being a part of that.
Okay. I didn't know if it was just like the only way to get a dreadnought was to carve it out of a worm god. Because presumably the other worm gods are still alive. Like we know Akka is dead.
Yep.
Because that's how Oryx got the tablets, and that's how he learned to take and all that stuff. But presumably the other like Yule, Ire, all those guys are still alive.
As far as we know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So regardless, one way or another, there is a very dreadnought-esque but Savathûn decorated ship that is on the ocean floor here with us. And as you progress through, like it feels like you have stepped into the Witch Queen for a second, going through going through her throne world again. But we do eventually end up from this exploration section after kind of fighting our way through. We do eventually end up at the last encounter. And before we get into who the final boss is, I want to touch on the final boss's arena.
Oh my God. This is the moment. Like myth purposefully, like when we went through and he was like, okay, now when we get to this point, just stare at the ground. I was like, okay. And then he was like, now I want you to turn this way and look through the chasm. Now slowly walk through. And as you walk through, this figure, you're back on the ocean floor, and this figure starts to appear in front of you. And as you move forward, it hits you like a train, like a ton of bricks. It is Oryx. He is lying there on the ocean floor, in full glory, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, and that's like the I'm getting mind blown again. Like, even just talking about it is like messing with my mind. Like, what the hell? So we have to figure out what is it doing down here. We do have to kind of go back to D1 and the what would be the I guess the pinnacle of D1, the final act of D1. Oh, maybe not D1, but the final act of the Taken King was to go on to his dreadnought, to go into Kingsfall, to go in the raid and kill him, to kill the Taken King. And when you kill him, his body just floats off from the dreadnought. Well, the dreadnought is in the rings of Saturn, and Titan is a moon of Saturn. So presumably, he just fell into Titan, and he's just been sitting on the ocean floor this whole time, which is like, dude, how did nobody like? Why didn't we secure that? Like, what the hell? Vanguard, you're doing a bad job. But that's to me, that's like the one connecting factor that makes me think that this dreadnought might actually be his. And Savathun, once she got the light, decided, well, I need to get my brother back. I need to get him resurrected. So let's go find this. And presumably, I think that might have dropped out of the orbit as well, with no pilot, with no anything to keep it stable. And presumably no power source, because if we think about, again, thinking of the dreadnought itself, the dreadnought, or what I would assume is the power source of the dreadnought, was Oryx's ascendant plane, because he merged it with that ship, and that was the weapon that he used in that D1 cutscene where he takes on the Queen and the Reef, and all of them take him on, and he just obliterates them in a single blip. He extends his will, the presence of his ascendant plane into our reality, and that's just delete shit. Like, physics of our reality is like, that can't happen, so just start deleting shit. And that's without him being alive and him being there, and all of his generals and all the war priests, the Golgoroth, like his sisters, the Death Song sisters, his daughters, all of them are dead. So presumably there's no true power source or connection to this ship, which makes me think that is why that is the dreadnought we're seeing underwater. Again, it's super spinfoily, right? Like, there's no concrete evidence of this is this dreadnought. That's the only thing that I have to go off of.
Yeah. So I'm going to pause here before we start discussing the boss and what's happening in the room when you get there. And in this case, we are going to go into the mechanics a little bit because they are somewhat lore relevant.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, I want to pause and kind of address what has become a bit of the elephant in the room in regards to Oryx's body.
Yeah.
So I know that there has been a lot of discussion around how did he get there?
Did you see the picture where it's like, this is the rings of Saturn. This is Saturn. This is where Titan is.
Yeah.
How the hell did it get there?
Titan's orbit is very much outside of the rings of Saturn. And at least from our point of view, when he is killed during Kingsfall, he seems to be falling towards Saturn. Now,
yep.
One part of this is none of us are astrophysicists. I cannot tell you. Well, some of us do. I cannot tell you how exactly he would have fallen as far like how orbits would have worked and gravitational, how gravity would have affected him, all those things. I am not qualified to tell you that, but I think I can at least safely assume that it would not have been just a straight line down to Saturn.
No, there's no way. No way.
However, even with that being said, I think it's reasonable to question, like, but even then, how did he get outside of the rings onto Titan? Well,
hey, because video games.
A little bit of it's absolutely because video game. But we have a lore entry that might explain it just a little bit.
Really?
We do.
Okay.
And funny enough, it's on a gun that Banshee 44 is selling at the moment. Um, so this is the lore entry from the Royal Chase scout rifle
Okay.
from Beyond Light. And it is a short one, and it is a radio kind of conversation going between two um, agents, I guess. But
They hidden or Vanguard or anything? Anyone of note?
it doesn't specify. I believe one of them is Praxic Order, and the other one I think is just Vanguard.
I figured it would be something of Ikora's, like either the hidden or
Yeah.
Praxic or something. Warlocks are, us. We like to poke shit and
Yes.
see what happens.
So this is the Royal Chase scout rifle, and it goes like this. Van Net Praxic Scout wideband audio channel. Log. Vanguard 6. Are you still tracking that monster near Saturn? Praxic Order 0. Yes, Nil 1 is holding position directly over Titan. On mark 27 hours. Rotating off in 3. Long shift. You Praxic boys are cold. Regret your induction yet? It's not a problem. We don't sleep. Right. I mean, you do sleep. Negative. Come on, I've met Guardians before. We do not. Don't make me call in the gunny. Your gunny would know better than to argue with the order. Okay, listen, you're not the order, and I don't give a shit. Quiet. Energy rev spooling from the target. What? You said it was basically dead. Basically. Record this. Establish direct feed uplink with NavTac. Uplink connectivity is spotty. Gravitational anomaly detected. No, it's collapse interference and dead air for a few minutes. And then the Praxic Order agent comes back. NavTech, return. Link reads has established. NavTech, return. Telemetric positioning pins us on the opposite side of Saturn. Displacement reads as 470,000 kilometers. Titan is gone. This doesn't make any sense. NavTech. Vanguard Recon, come in. Tower Actual? Are you there? And that's the end of that transmission.
Oh my God! This is the moment that Titan was taken.
Yep. And
so okay.
Oryx was still floating when Titan was taken, and I think was purposefully yanked up as part of it.
Oh shit! I didn't even think of that. I was thinking gravitationally, like if a moon just disappears, that's gonna fuck with gravity. I mean,
it would do that too. Yeah,
we had whole planets disappear. I'm amazed that anything still works in this solar system. Yeah, I didn't even think of the idea of like he was taken with it. Like, why the hell not? Okay, I'll accept that. I'm going to accept that as that is why he is there. He was close enough to Titan to be taken because it seems like everything around Titan. Because it sounds like this Praxic Order guy might have also been taken.
I think he probably was from the sound of it. Ended up in orbit over. Well, he says Titan is gone.
Okay, but he's not getting any answer from anyone. So I think his buddy got taken then.
Yeah, either that or just gravitational interference is killed just comms or something.
Fucked everything. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll accept that then. So that's how Oryx got in the ocean of Titan. He was taken when it got taken, and there you go.
Yeah, I think that is
and splashdown happens.
Right. I think that's the most likely scenario because it does sound like as we were kind of being like, why didn't the Vanguard keep track of him? They were. They literally
They
had
did.
someone watching his body float to wherever it was going.
Sleepless.
Yeah.
You don't sleep. Nope. Yeah. No. You sleep. No, we don't. Full stop. Okay, then. Yeah. So they absolutely were keeping tabs on it and everything. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Like
right.
the most powerful entity to have entered the solar system up to that point, and we kill it and we don't secure it. Like, I mean, thinking to nowadays, like we've secured Savathun's remains. They're sitting in the tower somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
yeah,
doesn't give us 100% like this is exactly what happened, but I think it's a pretty convincing argument that's how he got there.
I'll accept it.
But so to return,
it sounds way better than because video games.
Because
so
video
I'm
games,
accepting it.
But so now we're gonna return back to the ocean floor of Titan, where Oryx's body now lies. And just to, if you haven't done the dungeon, go do it.
That final boss is.
I know. But B,
there's so much to it.
To visualize what you're seeing here, you're coming out into this space, and you can see Oryx's head and his chest and his feet kind of poking up through the sand and silt, and some of his hands kind of poking up through the sand and silt on his sides.
He's just as big here as he was on the
monstrously large.
Which again, if you want to see how that plays out, go play Kingsfall.
Since
it's in the game. Yeah, go beat Kingsfall, and that's that ending there where he like floats away. That's what we're describing there. How he floated away from the dreadnought. So yeah.
So it's just such a cool thing to walk into, and then you realize what's happening at the body. And
that's the part that screwed me up. Like I was like, what the hell is going on here, Myth?
So as you get closer and it fully comes into view, you see that there's a wizard sitting over Oryx, performing some kind of a ritual. You can see kind of, it's a wizard doing the normal hive scream chanting thing.
Old school Omnigul feels.
Yeah, a little bit. And alongside this wizard is a hive ghost who is doing the action, where they kind of expand out, as if trying to perform a resurrection.
What the fuck, Myth? What the hell? What? This is exactly what's happening there, isn't it? They are literally trying to resurrect Oryx.
They're absolutely trying to resurrect Oryx. And
again, I'm going to make some connections here if I can. We're talking a Lucent wizard here, so part of Savathun's brood.
Yep.
A Lucent ghost, because it's very much has that, the what do we call him? Not Dark Knight. I can't think of the Edgelord.
Yeah.
Edgelord Amaru. That's what that very much Edgelord ghost hive stuff on him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's absolutely doing that res animation, but it looks like it's not coming from the ghost. So again, thinking back to what is required of an entity to become a light bearer? Duty, bravery, self-sacrifice. Oryx had the first two. He definitely had duty and bravery. He did not self-sacrifice. We killed him. Well, the only other way for something to get resurrected is from what Savathun learned by way of Nokris, which is necromancy. And we don't fully understand how necromancy works, because the only two people that know it are Nokris and Savathun. They're both dead. And I guess one's dead, one's sort of dead and lost her memory, but we gave it back to her, so she might remember. Anyway, It's complicated. That's what her Facebook status says. It's complicated.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the fact that there is a Lucent wizard, and it is a Lucent wizard there, because when you kill her, there's a ghost to crush. So it is a light bearer wizard trying to perform necromancy on Oryx and bring Oryx back. Which, when you think back to the two truths and two lies that Savathun used to do. That I think you can still go play them. The missions on Inner Throne World, where it's like the memory missions, where you're like recalling different stuff. One of the things she said was Oryx will rise again, and it was like, or the Taken King will rise again, and it was like, okay, well, yes, you wanted it to, so therefore you're doing it right here in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So yeah, it's so keying in on that idea of Nokris and the necromancy aspect of it, that plays a big part in the final boss's name. So the name of this wizard, who is in their name is titled the Lucent Necromancer, so is Simuma Nakru. And we have
Sounds
seen
really close to Nokris.
We have seen this wizard before.
Out of town.
Similarly to Ekthar, where we saw him back in Taken King, Simuma, who was just Simuma Nakru at the time, was originally seen as a mini boss in the Strange Terrain mission of the Warmind expansion, which is the mission where you kill Nokris.
Yeah. Holy shit. All right. This is confirming it to me. Like, Savathun wants her brother back, and she's going to do everything she can to get him back.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
And Samuma, Nakru, I think is
Myth, you're going to make me feel feelings for the Hive.
Just ticking one more thing that you can't
kill and test. I'm going to have to play a healer, Myth. I'm going to have to do Boots of the Assembler, Lumina, and that's all I'm going to be able to do. Be like, I'm not here to kill you, people. I swear. I'm just here helping them kill you. I'm sorry.
Yep. But yeah, so Samuma Nakru being, I think technically of Nokris.
Yeah,
or
I think so.
Of his brood, perhaps.
Yep.
Was
possibly
originally,
daughter.
Yeah, was originally from Nokris's, his brood of Hive, was then resurrected by Savathun with a ghost, and presumably also has some knowledge around how necromancy works. Perhaps Savathun retaught her.
Sure.
And that's how she has become this Lucent Necromancer. But and say also kind of keying in on that name. So Samuma doesn't on its own, as far as I could find, mean anything in particular. But, and it may be happenstance, I did find that a very close relation in Arabic, which is Sama, means to poison.
Ooh.
So the poison of Nokris, a Lucent Necromancer. Yeah. Nokris, for those unaware, was essentially kicked out of the Hive. He was another son of Oryx, who was forced out for heresy, for trying to bring things back to life instead of, end their existence.
Because remember the Hive and their sword logic. If something died, it was destined to die. Like it was, you don't bring it back. Which is honestly kind of weird to think of in Hive terms, because like they live eternally, they have eternal life. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a pot calling the kettle black type thing. I don't know. Like,
well, I think it's a case to that, how they would justify it is it's not that they have eternal life. They can still die. Just nothing's been strong enough to actually kill them.
To actually kill them.
Right.
Yeah. No. Okay. I can agree with that. But yeah, the necromancy stuff was definitely looked at as heresy, and he was kicked out. There, I think they tore down there used to be a shrine to Nokris, because Nokris is one of Oryx's sons.
Yep.
And there used to be a shrine in wherever, whether it be Oryx's throne world or wherever, but like all memory of him was eradicated from Hive history.
Yep.
Dogma, text, everything.
Yep. He was scrubbed clean from history, because his offense was that great. But no. So we have this necromantic Lucent wizard, supposedly loyal to Savathun, who is trying to resurrect Oryx with the help of a ghost, or trying to it's not exactly clear, but somehow, some way, they wanted Oryx back, probably as a Lucent hive, probably using a ghost of his own.
The Taken King taking with light powers. I don't even.
Yeah,
I can't fathom that.
it would have been real bad for us.
Oh yeah.
And so we don't let it happen.
Nope. We walk right in there and go crush that shit. I love that. That's how the fight starts. Is you crush a ghost, and you're just like, let's go.
Like, nope, not today. But no, I do want to talk about the actual fight mechanics just a little bit, because there's some really interesting things about the mechanics in the fight that I don't exactly know. I haven't put my finger on what they might mean, but I feel like they mean something.
Okay.
So during the fight, the different body parts of Oryx, head, chest, either arm, and either leg, have to be the energy between them has to be connected to give us access to the power to make this wizard vulnerable to damage. Now, some interesting points about that connection is that it is all hive like green soulfire. And it's interesting that even the pool we are standing in to deal damage to the boss, or at least eliminate their shield, is also kind of a pool of that green hive, kind of effect. And I find it somewhat interesting that it seems like we are using a dark ritual against this hive that is of the light now to make them vulnerable. Which on one part is just kind of like we've flipped the script a little bit, and that's kind of weird.
Absolutely.
But the other thing is these connections.
Now, well, and remember, we've done that before back in Season of the Hunt, where we use that same green stuff to pop the shields of Sivurath's High Celebrants.
That's true, but they would be all dark.
Right. So like there could be something there that maybe we picked up on during that season that we've got a little bit of knowledge of how this is working.
Maybe.
As far as just like a guardian, like us the player, we're just like, oh, because video game. But like the guardian might actually have just a little bit of knowledge to going, okay, I've seen this before, I know what to do here.
Yeah, and maybe that mechanic is just because video game. But the thing that I think is relevant for sure, every time you make one of these connections, it's always 3 body parts. It always is forming a triangle, which that's kind of obvious imagery. Again,
shit, I didn't even
dark ritual
that one.
But the thing that's interesting is, as far as I have been able to tell in all the runs I've done so far, the chest is always one of the points of the triangle.
And remember, the chest is where he did damage during the final encounter with him,
right?
And that's where like his main source of taken was. Right. So yeah, I think that's absolutely significant. I don't know what the significance is, but it's absolutely significant.
Well, so here's the next question that brings about. So we kill, we're successful over Samuma. We kill her. We prevent Oryx's resurrection, if it were even possible for her to have done it in the first place. But we weren't going to find out.
Because that's the other big question is like, we've never seen necromancy ever. I don't even know that we saw it with Nokris. So we don't know anything about the effects of necromancy. Like, do they keep their memories? Do they lose their memories? Are they a puppet? Is it just like somebody's pulling the strings? Is it Strand? Right. Is it like literally a puppet master? Like the only way they can function is by somebody else pulling the strings? Like, we don't know anything in that realm.
Yeah, no, we definitely are not informed. I wouldn't say we haven't seen it ever. Only because during that strange terrain mission and later on the strike, that is essentially the same thing. When we're going through that leading up to Nokris, the hive that spawn are specifically mentioned in that mission as being resurrected hive.
Oh, okay. I
But
totally forgot about that.
they if I recall correctly, they specifically say that their resurrection makes them mindless. Now,
Oh, okay.
again, those are like Thrall and
Right.
acolytes. It's a
they're,
very different
they're
story compared to
already kind of mindless.
yeah. So who's to say it would have the same effect on Oryx? But
Sure. The
we've
god
seen
of
it happen
knowledge.
before.
Like that's kind of a mind fuck too. Like what happens when you resurrect the god of knowledge?
Right. So yeah, we're successful in preventing it. Um, and now my big question, and there isn't an answer to this as far as I know, but I'm waiting for there to be one that presents itself. The spot that's always part of the ritual to break the shield is the chest. The chest is where we did damage. The chest is also where the ghost and the wizard were hovering when we entered the room. The chest is also presumably where his worm used to be.
There's got to be something. There's got to be something. I don't know what it is, but there's got to
Well,
be something there, right? Like,
I mean,
what's the connection?
maybe they're trying to replace the worm with the ghost, like have the
Oh,
ghost serve
yeah.
the role that the worm once did.
Sure.
My
Like a power source thing.
right, my big question, where is the worm?
Oh shit.
Because there wasn't a body of one anywhere in that
Yeah.
arena, and as far as I know, it hasn't popped up anywhere else.
Well, shit.
And
Maybe in her throne world. Maybe at the Temple of the Navigator. It's maybe.
well, at the Temple of the Navigator, it was the tablet.
Oh, that's
Tablet
right.
of
That's
Ruin.
right. That he read off of the
Yep.
Tablet of Ruin.
Yep. Was
That's right.
the object there? And it's totally possible his worm, its body floated independent of him on his little deep space sleep before he ended up at Titan. Uh, but
love that it's just a nap now.
right,
He didn't actually die. He just took a nap. He's still napping.
yeah, he just went to a farm on the countryside.
Oh shit! Oh man! Damn it! Now I'm thinking of like Oryx the puppy. Like, oh, Mythborn. Why? We had to take Oryx. We had to take Oryx out back and put him down.
I mean, we kind of did.
We did. All right, you can continue now.
But it does make me wonder, like, if that worm survived,
right?
That's
the source of power.
Well,
that's the source of everything.
Yeah, it was it had to have been a immensely powerful hive being at that point. Like that
billion years
had
old.
to be close to a worm god, I would think.
Yeah.
In its
Oryx
own
is,
right.
Absolutely.
So like maybe it's still out there. Maybe it's floating around
New worm god floating around in I was thinking it's just straight up floating around in Saturn.
That too. Yeah. So
Jesus.
Questions to consider. Again, I don't have an answer for that, but it does it was very that like chest cavity that you could just climb inside, by the way, during the fight was very empty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah.
But yeah, so that's the dungeon. And again, this entire dungeon I think is just feeding back to Savathun. Like everything about it is the love of a sister for her brother, the wanting to be a free of free of influence from everything, free of influence from the worm gods, free of influence from the light, like to just be again. I think there's a lot of regret on Savathun's part of because if I'm not mistaken, she was the main one listening to her father's what was it, the I can't even think what it was. The familiar, the worm familiar. Was that what it was called? Myth was just a worm familiar.
Yeah, I don't think I ever named it.
I don't know if they ever named it, but she was very much the one talking to it and it talking to her. So like, I think she regrets a lot of the decisions that she kind of like pushed her sisters towards, um, and back on fundament, and then now to look back on it, and like I said, Savathun now has the knowledge of the actual events of what happened, or at least what the witness has said the actual events are, or the memories of the worm that we picked up from the temple was that the whole thing was a trick. That the hive or the krill at the time were actually going to be chosen by the traveler to be light bearers, and then this worm, this familiar showed up on the shores with her father, and she followed it, and they now got corrupted by the darkness and are now agents of the dark by becoming hive and taking the pact with the worm gods. So yeah, like it I think Savathun sees all forces, light and dark, as just like a perversion of what her life could have been. And so then she wants her family back. And
Yeah.
God, that's so humanizing, Myth. I can't now I can't kill Hive.
Well, just because you've humanized them doesn't make them good people.
All right, I'll give you that one. But now I feel for her. Now I feel for Savathun, and I'm just like, oh.
Well, she's already dead, so.
All right, fair enough. We did already kill her. But she can be rezzed.
This is true.
Where the hell is Imaru? Like, who the hell is he?
He found a rock somewhere in the throne world to just
apparently
lay under. But yeah, I have to imagine that story thread will come into play again soon, because there's not all that much left.
Yeah.
But we'll leave that for another day. Returning to the dungeon here, and that idea of, this bond between sisters and between what once was and wanting to be free of that and just have that sense of family. I think we see that from Savathun, for sure. And there's actually a lore card that we're going to read a little later on that will address that again. But we also see kind of a similar vibe from the other sister, that being Shivu Arath,
God of War.
And we see
Kratos.
Not Kratos. And we see that message, that idea of loss and wanting and love, familial love, through the collectibles that you find in the dungeon. And these collectibles look like little calcified fragments, like from
like back from the
Taken King.
Yep.
And every time you pick one up, it gives you a little voice recording of Shivu Arath at a point in time. And they, as far as I can tell, they go chronologically. And there's information later on to tell us that these are things being said by Shivu Arath when she comes and I'm not sure what the term would be, not praise, but comes and...
We could use that.
Yeah, it's not quite accurate, but
pays homage to.
Yeah, so she visits Oryx's body a number of times.
Yeah, because she was with it while it was taken.
Right,
like she was with Titan and all that stuff while taken and all that stuff. While Titan was taken, was taken. That's a hard one.
Yeah, so what we discussed in our last episode, like Shivu was there. She had access to Titan.
Yep.
When it was kind of blipped out of our side of things.
Right?
Yep.
Like Kolgrath would tear open
yep.
Passages to the Ascendant Realm, and Shivu was just like, hey, what's going on, guys?
So in one way or another, Shivu had access to Titan and found Oryx's body, and perhaps if Oryx was taken out of his deep space float intentionally, she knew all along he was going to end up there, which would explain how she knew where he was to go do these little memorial speeches.
I'm thinking that lore on the gun is very telling of what happened, and I think all of that was intended.
Yeah. But so we've got a couple of really cool voice recordings from Shivu Arath, of her just kind of mourning.
Yeah.
And it brings a very different side of her character compared to going through like the seasonal activity where she's very much the god of war. And here she's it's a different side of her. And so I'm going to go through and I'm going to read the collectibles. We'll probably pause in between. Well, we'll maybe not everyone, but definitely in between every couple. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to do the like shout reading that
she does all of these in all caps.
Yes, they are,
and the voice actor does a fantastic job of portraying
and
the
that's
emotion there.
So the two reasons I do not want to shout read these is A, I value my voice for the rest of the night and weekend, and B, honestly, you should go listen to the source because the VA for Shivu Arath, who is Kimberly Brooks, does a phenomenal job. And even if you're maybe not in a position to play the dungeon, you don't have a group or whatever it may be, you don't have the time to dedicate, it's definitely on YouTube. I think Destiny History is the name of the channel.
Oh yeah, the big archive thing.
Yeah, like they go through and try and capture as much of the in-game cutscenes and stuff as they can. They have all of these collectibles, recordings of all these collectibles when they're collected, so you can hear the actual message, and it brings a whole nother level of emotion just from the delivery of these. So again, I'm not going to shout read them like Shivu does in game. I'm gonna leave that to the professionals. But we're gonna go through some of them. So, starting at the very first one, goes like this: Lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come, sit in the flesh garden. I will read you these stories I brought at Kaharn. I was 0. I was weakness, fragility, and then you drowned me in the deep, murdered my flaws. You are our navigator, our guide, led me down the bladed path to be reforged as Shivu Arath. I will remember you, our navigator, our brother, our king. In this, you are eternal. So I'm going to pause there. That was 2.
Yeah, I love it. That's very much the story of how they came to be. That's the first the Oryx is the navigator. He's I keep saying the first navigator. I don't know if that's the title that I've come up with, but I know the navigator is what Aurash, Oryx prior to being Oryx, was, and that's or she at the time was the one that found the ship and all that stuff. And I want to say the two of them traveled together a lot more without Savathun by their side. At least that's what part of this sounds like. But maybe it's just like Zivu is very connected.
Yeah, and I think maybe this initial one, the lonely navigator, we've traveled so long with only each other. That might be in reference to when Savathun removed herself from the pantheon. Because
Oh, that's
if we
right.
remember in Books of Sorrow, there was a point where Savathun essentially made up an excuse of like, we will only grow weaker if we spend more time together.
Right.
Made up an excuse for her to just kind of leave the Trinity
The
and
dip.
go do
Yeah.
her own
Yeah.
thing, which was
Start.
figure out how to
I
get
was
out of this deal.
I was going to say to start the entire events of Witch Queen,
Yeah.
like to create the throne world, to figure out how to break free from the deal. Yeah.
So there was a very long period of time where, presumably ever since then, Savathun has not really had any connection to her two siblings. And, they have been together for billions of years prior to that.
Yeah.
Uh, and then she's just gone, and it's just the two of them. And I think that's like they have a stronger bond starts there than maybe what was there before, because they're the only ones left from the family, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of the origin. Again, we did a whole thing on this on our Books of Sorrow series.
Yeah. Go check out our Books of Sorrow series.
That is the origin story of the Hive. But so Shivu Arath, before she accepted the deep and the worm, was, and she pronounces it this way in game, zero.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. The god
That guy
of
was
war,
nothing.
right? The god of war once upon a time was zero, was weakness, was fragility.
Yeah.
So that was just a cool little like, oh,
I like it.
I never put that together.
Yep.
So, and she is now, so she's kind of like remembering the good old days kind of thing. So the collectibles continue. I remember the languid contempt of our father, the cold eyes of our mother. I see your determination, eternal. It is determination that defines you. Certainty, clarity, faith. Your will is a knife hewing away at our lies. You are truth. When I doubt, you never spare me the blade. When I falter, you never spare me your words. And yet, I know there is more. So again, kind of this like, Oryx was kind of her support, her support network was her brother.
Yeah.
For when, things weren't going well, like he would be the one to set her on the right path, be that,
He
forcefully
would
or
kill her.
otherwise.
Because I think that's like what she talks about. You never spared me the blade.
Yeah.
They would kill each other over and over and over again.
Yep.
Just to make each other stronger, to like force sword logic to be true.
Yeah, and they talk about that in the Books of Sorrow, about their expression of love for one another was to show, test their strength against each other, I think. Yep. Is maybe the best term. They didn't intentionally go kill each other in their throne worlds. It was never a permanent death. It was death in this reality, knowing they would be resurrected from their throne world, or that they lived on still in the throne world and would eventually come back to the waking world, quote unquote. Yep. So like Oryx kind of was everything for her.
I'm telling you, man, I'm starting to feel for these. They're giving me the feel, Smith.
So the collectibles continue, and this is presumably the moment that I won't say the moment that Oryx dies, but is maybe a time where, because again, all of these are kind of recordings of her visiting his grave, his body. So this is either a memory or is maybe just she was there and it was a bad day kind of thing, and venting some frustrations. Uh, but this one goes like this. You are dead, and your throne wants empty. Blasphemy, blasphemy. My brother is vanquished. Court is scattered. Temples ransacked. My brother is dead, and his killers have not assumed the mantle of the taken king. Blasphemy. How? How can the spear that pierced 1,000,000 worlds be killed by those who would deny all-edged truth? Mother, are you laughing? Sister, are you smiling? Is this the fate worse than extinction? Was it all for nothing? I'm going to pause again.
So true. Such a truth statement here. Like again, I think of the Taken King the same way I think of World of Warcraft with Arthas and the King of the Damned, the ruler of the damned. Like there should always be a Taken King. There should always be a ruler of the damned. Otherwise, the willless, mindless souls that are being created are just going to run rampant and kill everything, and that's all that's going to be left. And so that idea of like, well, we and Toland yells at us, the throne's empty, take it, and we're like, nah, not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because and Myth and I theorized about this in our Hamkara episodes. The throne might not have actually been empty. It might have kind of already been filled by Riven.
Right. Although Shivu wouldn't have known that.
Exactly. So so it's like for Hive and for her to call it blasphemy, like that's very much like that's religion, that's law of the land, that's somebody has to be the Taken King. So she's very upset about that.
Yeah, and now I don't want to say we see her go through the steps of grief here, but
oh, absolutely we do.
It's I can't exactly point out to like this is denial and this is acceptance and this is anger and whatever, but we do see her, like, if we were gonna point this out, I think she's gone into anger and is now into like reasoning, that whole like trying to reason with yourself about why the situation isn't as bad as you think it is or can be fixed kind of thing.
She almost goes through all of it in that one statement. Like she's like denial with the blasphemy, and then she's like angry, and then towards the end she's like, "Mother, are you laughing? Sister, are you smiling?" Like she's just moved through all of it really fast.
Yeah, well, I think that's still anger. It's being directed now at Savathun. Like Savathun, was this all part of your plan? And their mother, if I recall, it's been a while.
Mother wasn't the one that got that went and told the other court, right?
No,
that was the traitor. That was the God, I can't remember the name. Tauix.
Yeah. But there was a line in the Books of Sorrow, and I forget who exactly said it, but maybe it was the Leviathan who said that like what waits you in the deep is a fate worse than extinction.
Right.
And so that's her like, is this the fate worse than extinction? Was it all for nothing? And so like she's just kind of angry at everybody.
Oh yeah. Anywhere she can direct that's what she's doing.
But and in the next one here we see a little more of like that reasoning, trying to figure a way out of it, how to fix it. So it continues. She says, I have died, and yet was summoned back by you who remembered me as war. Our sister died, and was summoned back by you who conspired with her. So it must be, for now, if your legacy is true, brother, it will come unto us and defeat our blasphemy. And if not, what we attempt cannot be blasphemy. For we have survived you, surpassed the power of your will. Ayat. So I'm going to pause again. So what she's referencing is, and this has always been a confusing portion of the Books of Sorrow, is there is a spot in order to gain the power to kill Akka, the worm god, and eventually gain the ability to take, or the power to learn how to take, I should say, from that killing of Akka. In order to get that strong in the first place, Oryx kills Savathun and Shivu Arath to take their powers into himself. And then revives them. But honestly, not in any way that we have seen a revival happen before.
Right. He doesn't use the light. That's for damn sure.
Thinking about it now, so if I recall correctly, in the Books of Sorrow, they describe that he made a tribute to war so perfect, so perfectly described Shivu Arath in this tribute to war that it kind of spoke her back into existence.
Like that item remembered her?
Right.
Oh, shit.
So I wonder.
That's a darkness power all day long, man.
Yeah. I wonder if this was a form of deep sight. If Oryx.
I think it is.
If Oryx made the universe remember Shivu Arath to the point where she came back.
That's a mind fuck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's the god of knowledge. Who else would know how to do such? Like, I feel like it's almost like hearing it now and knowing what we know about deep sight and the dark and memories and all that shit. Like, it's almost like a no brainer now. Like, of course she's spoken back. Like, why? How couldn't Oryx do it? Like, duh. It's I think you're right, man. I think this is more darkness, more deep sight, more craziness.
Yeah, and Shivu here is doing that reasoning. She's saying, I died and you brought me back. You know, Savathun died and you brought her back. So clearly it should be possible for you to be resurrected, and resurrecting you would not be blasphemy because you did it once before.
Make the universe remember Oryx. Oh my god. Oh my god. That gives me the chills, man.
Now, I don't know that Shivu Arath knows how Oryx did that the first time around.
I think you're right. I think that's something that just because Oryx being the god of knowledge just had that knowledge and didn't there's a lot of knowledge that he didn't share. Like he didn't share the power to take. He was the only one of the three that could take. So yeah.
Yeah. So she continues. The sky is fragile, flawed, lies. I see how easily it is chained, brought to heel and muzzled. The truth cannot be so easily bound. You showed us that. Truth has wings, and I take flight in your stead. I bring the knife of truth to the gristle of lies. You would have savored my triumph, how our sister's gift to me was treated with such care. Screams like a choir as their mountains trembled, screams like a choir as their seas boiled. I stepped down into that world, thrust my sword into the heart of Torbottle, and carved out the lies from the truths. I'm going to pause there.
Yeah, that's the death of the homeworld for the Cabal.
Yep, that is Shivu invading the Cabal homeworld. And she confirms that Savathun's the one that set it up, that made it possible for that to happen. Which
again, thinking of the three sisters. Oh my god, 3 points of a triangle, three sisters.
Yeah, there's some correlation there.
They're only strong as each other. Oh my god. Dude, how have I not been seeing this shit? Like, this is in plain sight in front of it. Like, oh my god. I feel dumb now, man.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I think
some of it
I
might be
think
intentional and some of it might not be, but
fair enough, fair enough. Some of this is probably just abstract or coincidence or something, but yeah, like all three sisters like combined, like by our powers combined, they make a pretty damn good trio. Like, but as you can see, like as soon as Oryx kind of comes out of the picture, like even when Savathun removes herself from the picture and it's just the two of them, we were able, I think, without Savathun there, we were able to defeat Oryx. Like,
mm-hmm.
If she had been there, would we have been able to? Like, would she have
I
created
don't
enough
think so.
deception that we? Right? Like, how powerful are the three of them combined? Whereas, like, if you can get to them one at a time, now it's like, okay, now we can pick them off kind of like one by one, and now they're not so powerful. I mean, the same thing happened with Savathun. Savathun, as soon as she was captured, I mean, granted, she allowed us to capture her because she wanted to do the self-sacrifice. She knew that was the only way that she could get the light. So yeah, like it to be able to pick these gods off one by one is I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think of because, like I said, if they were all together at every point in time, I don't know that we would have been strong enough to defeat any one of them, much less all three of them. But because they did separate and we were able to attack them one by one, we're able to defeat them. Like I don't I don't know, man. The witness is starting to look more and more approachable now, like more and more defeatable now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'll give you this: the witness is definitely more powerful than the three sisters.
Yes.
But I mean, thinking of him as a single entity, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
He might be defeatable.
We'll find out soon.
Exactly.
But so yeah, she's talking about taking over Torbottle here, and you know that the sky, you know, the sky is fragile, is flawed, it lies. You know, their truth is the only truth. You know, very
Stupid light powers and your
yeah.
light bearers.
Um, so then she continues here talking about Savathun turning to the light, and she says, "Heresy, heresy! Our sister denies your truth and crawls like an animal into the shadow of the sky. She bleats and howls, allowing herself to be profaned by it. She spits on your memory. Sister, you always doubted, but now it is time to test theory in praxis. Sometimes, to win a battle, you needn't raise a hand. You let the ignorant fight in your name, unknowing. They move themselves into position, posturing their victories, leaving their soft flank open. Sister, I spit on your grave. You were wrong." So I'm going to pause there.
Oh, she's pissed.
Yeah.
She is pissed that her own sister forsake first like gave the two of them up and was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the light now, but I'm not gonna tell you why. Like, I don't. If Savathun had just said, been like, hey, I think I can free us, Herb, that would have been enough, I think. But the fact that
See,
she said nothing, but if she had said something, like, would that have like would they have tried to stop her? Like,
I
there's so
think
much there.
I think Shivu absolutely would have. So Savathun clearly had doubts.
Yeah.
Oryx
I think
even
even in the books of sorrow, she has doubts.
yes. And Oryx even at times in the books of sorrow expresses like,
Yeah.
is this
Are we
really
doing
the
the right
right
thing?
path? Not necessarily the right
Yeah.
thing, but like is this truly the natural order what we're doing?
Sure.
Shivu, on the other hand, I think is, and I don't know if she was the youngest, but I feel like she's the little sister that is taking
Absolutely.
her big brother's word as the law of the universe.
Absolutely. I think that's what's happening.
And I don't think if Savathun had gone to her and said, "Hey, I have a plan that's going to get us out of this, and it's going to require,
I
us
think she would
turning
have
to
just
the light."
reported.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she would have just gone straight to Oryx and be like, hey, Sis is trying to fuck us. Like, she's trying to screw us out of immortality, and we need to shut her down.
Yeah, and even if it would have been even worse after Oryx's death, because now it's not just a betrayal of the rules he told them, but it's like a betrayal of his life, you know?
Yeah, like his legacy, like
Right.
that, like you spit on his grave. She calls out Savathun. It's like this is heresy. This is bullshit. Like what you're doing is no, that's bad. It's a perversion. Like you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be crawling to the light like an animal. Like yeah, she's absolute. And so then she like turns around. And she's like, well, we'll spit right back on your grave. You're not a sister to us anymore.
Yeah.
Like denying her like you're not even family anymore. God, it's so strong. This bond between these three is like ah myth. I'm feeling feelings for bad gods.
Well, hold that thought.
Okay.
So we're gonna keep going. And Shivu continues in the collectibles here and says, "There is an end in sight now, clearer than I have ever seen it. The horizon narrows to a single edge, sharper than hope. I see the final shape coming to focus in this cutting motion, and the deep sings its promises. I crack my whip unto the rhythm. I guide your knife in between ribs. Even now, alone, you are my navigator. The sky's liars are eloquent in their tenacity. They make me doubt my own hand, my own right. Our blades clash, and I am driven back, back. I had my blade at their throat, and they slipped past my guard. But it is too late now. Even their deepest cuts are too shallow to kill. I see the final shape coming for their heart." And pause there again.
It's just a triangle. I'm just convinced now. The final shape's a triangle.
Yeah. So presumably talking about, she's been close a couple times.
She had the whole season of the hunt. She was actually really close.
Yep, season of the hunt, season of the lost, where she's trying to go
where
after
she almost,
Savathun.
yeah, where she directly attacked where they were holding her and trying to break her.
Yep.
Trying to complete the ritual. Yeah.
Yep. So like she's had a couple attempts where to mess with us, and we keep coming out on top, and it's a little frustrating for her, but she's saying like it doesn't matter anymore because the end is in sight. I can see where this is all going, and there's nothing they can do about it.
I mean, is she wrong? Question mark.
I don't know.
I don't think she is
won't
wrong.
Know. Yeah, I mean,
we'll find out in about 8 months,
right? But so the final collectible entry, I'm going to read off, and then I have another lore card entry that's related, but we'll discuss in between. So the final one goes like this: "I come to you now to say goodbye, brother. This will be my last visitation. A final knee at your grave. I'm left to wonder if there's anything of you still in there. I'm left to wonder, what is this feeling? The sky is mortally wounded, bleeding out, yet a part of me longs for the comfort of the gardens, of your stories, of sisters. I long for our journeys together, but know they have come to an end. We will be proven right. You will be proven right. Brother, if you have taught me anything, it was to never deny a truth, even when it grieves us. Ah, what is this feeling? I do not want it." And that's the end.
Interesting. That just, I don't know, man. It's she's almost crying in this one to me. Like,
little bit.
She's mourning so much, like she's just like I can't even take it anymore. Like this is she's mourning so much that she can't even like it's like even moving past acceptance. Like she's just like I don't want it anymore. I don't want any of this anymore. Like I already know the final shape's going to work. I already know that you're going to be proven right. And like even though we three sisters weren't part of the final shape, the sword logic still wins. So yeah, I'm just going to help it along essentially.
Yeah, I think the feeling that she doesn't know how to describe, doesn't know what it is. Um,
Is it
if I were
love?
to equate it to, well, I mean, we already know that she kind of knows what love is, at least
What is
familial.
love? See, I knew I
Uh,
was going to get another sing in there.
yeah, yeah. But I think it's, she's, if anything, I think it's kind of doubt and regret,
Ooh, interesting.
because she's saying like, part of me wishes we never did this. Part of me
Yeah,
wishes we were still back in the garden telling
yeah.
stories to each other.
Because there's another lore entry that is actually of the two of them telling, like, I want to say it's on the ghost shell or the sparrow or something, where she's talking about like I'm Zero and I've got the star and here's Arash
Yep.
and they're playing together and stuff. So yeah, like I think she does long for that. I think she is that. I think you're right. I think regret is the feeling there that she's just not. She's like, no, fuck that. I don't want to feel that anymore. Like,
Yeah.
no, we are on the right path. We are doing the right thing. We are correct.
I think it boils down to she misses having a family.
I'm telling you, man. That's the whole theme of this dungeon is family. Like it's I mean all we're missing is Vin Diesel and a muscle car, and then this then this dungeon would be complete.
God damn it.
I'm so bad at this.
All
I'm on
right.
a roll tonight. I'm feeling good.
So Bungie needs to add a sparrow section into the
Yup.
dungeon. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit. And it's a quarter mile.
Yep.
I hate both of us now. I hate both of us.
You started it.
Oh my! I did. I accept that. I did.
But
Yeah.
so I wanna focus in real quick though. I want to focus back in on that last bit, on that, what is this feeling? I do not want it. And I think that feeling being the longing for return to the days of when they were a family, and none of this
Absolutely.
dark or light mattered. And she's not the only one.
I know. I
So
know. Savathun wants that so bad. Like that's the whole reason she did what she did.
well, and we can see a eerily similar statement from Savathun in the lore card for the Hawk Moon.
Oh. Okay.
So the Hawk Moon says this: "What is this feeling? I did not ask for it. I do not understand it. I do not want it. The crow is so carefree in his ignorance. The bonfire's glow lights up his pale features, and I am drawn to the hope in his gold eyes. Where is the despairing child I anticipated? He drinks from an open bottle of wine against the recommendation of his ghost. The guardian encourages him, and they are laughing. The celebration is maddening. Neither have reason to be jubilant. Their world is ending, and they thrash like dying creatures in the final light of collapsing stars. They do not seem to acknowledge the futility of their existence, the impermanence of it in the face of cosmic annihilation. And now the guardian is drinking, standing close to the fire. Their ghost, too, encourages them not to partake. They poison themselves for the enjoyment of it. I am reminded of my sisters, of moments spent by lapping shores, gazing up at infinite stars full of possibilities and wonder. I am left yearning. What is this feeling? I do not understand it. I do not want it. They're celebrating their victory over the Taken. The crow is making a gun shape with his hand, swinging the nearly empty bottle of wine around in the other like a sword. The guardian looks pensive, sitting on a rock by the fire, contemplating the secret they're keeping. The crow notices, but tries not to show it. He wants the guardian's spirits to be lifted. He wants to be supportive so that they can share in their triumphs together as equals. I'm reminded of my home. I'm reminded of the warmth of the sun and the embrace of my family. I am reminded of my father's face. I am reminded of everyone I betrayed, all the blood spilt in the name of immortality. The warmth of the sun burns with its memory. What is this feeling? I do not want it. The fire has nearly died. The crow fell over and cannot stand, though he insists he's fine. The guardian is turning embers with the tip of their sword. The ghosts are talking to one another in quiet conspiracy. The celebration has ended, but I can sense their emotions are mixed, complex, and myriad things, when a single, simple focus would suffice. There is growing kinship here, against better judgment. What is this feeling? And that's the end of that one.
Dude, that's I think you're right, man. It's straight up regret. I miss the good old times. Like, why do we sell out for the darkness? Why did all this for what, for immortality? What the fuck has that gotten us? But sorrow and crap. Like,
Right.
oh my god. Oh, myth. You make me feel feelings. Make it stop.
Well, so we're going to transition away from the Hive Sisters now. And we are going to focus on the armor of the new dungeon and the lore that comes with it.
Yeah.
So the armor, outside of being, in my personal opinion, really, really cool.
Oh my god, it colors so beautifully.
Oh,
We
it's so
literally
nice.
we saw a warlock with the robes on in the tower, and we all like gathered around him. He had him in this like red fire looking stuff. It was fantastic, and you could tell he was just like, "Is there? Are y'all staring at me? Am I the party? Is that what?" And we were all just like, "Oh my god!" Like we literally had formed a circle around him in the tower. Some random guardian. Random guardian who I don't remember your name, but had the really cool looking new stuff. You're awesome, and yeah, we saw you, and you're cool.
Yeah. So
it colors. It's fantastic gear.
alongside it being really, really awesome, it has a really cool little lore story to it. And this is a story of what happens after our guardian comes back from the dungeon.
Yeah.
Which
So
isn't...
get ready for part 2 of this episode because we're gonna go a little long here.
a little bit. But this was really cool because this really isn't something that we ever see in this way. We don't usually get an epilogue to a dungeon or a raid or anything like that.
Right. It's
And
just
that's
like,
pretty
cool,
much what
you got your
is.
loot. Go home.
Yeah. So we're going to start. And again, all of the armor is the same in this case. So whether you're looking at Warlock or Titan or Hunter, the entries on it are the same.
And if you're doing it correctly, you should only be looking at the Warlock stuff.
Right. Which is what I'm reading tonight.
Yeah, you are.
So we are starting with the hood of the Taken King. And it goes like this. Keep this talisman on you at all times. Black glossy, and in the right light, the talisman has a rainbow iridescence. It reminds Fenchurch of hematite pearls from the Bay of Drowned Wishes. He rolls it in his hand, looking up at Chalco to see the creases of worry in her brow. Fenchurch clips the talisman to his jacket, as the rest of his fire team has. What's it do? If it glows white, stay where you are and call out, Chalco explains, choosing her words carefully, all while avoiding Fenchurch's gaze. If you experience any memory loss or sense of deja vu, call out. A silence falls over the fire team. Palpable tension fills the cabin as they feel the craft begin to descend. If you see anyone at the operation site that you do not recognize, call out. Chalco continues, occasionally steadying herself with a hand on the cabin ceiling as the submersible pitches and yaws in the disruptive currents. If you experience an out-of-body sensation or missing time, call out. Ma'am, Lisbon 13 is not afraid to interrupt Chalco. His eyes glow bright from the back of the submersible. Where are we going? Chalco stares for a moment, squares her shoulders, and continues as if she had not been interrupted. If you hear a voice that you think is your own, call out. And that's the end of that one.
Yeah, those aren't creepy ass instructions. No, everything's fine, everything's normal, everything's good. But if you experience anything of the following, if you experience the following symptoms, please consult your nearest guardian. They will kill you. Like, I feel like that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, a little bit.
The Fenchurch is he's like the main like procurer of stuff for Eververse.
Yep. No, this is Fenchurch Eververse, who is a guardian.
I never realized that. I always thought he was just a dude. I thought he was like a Devram K.
Yeah, I kind of did too, but no, he is a guardian, a member of.
That explains why he gets all this phantasmic stuff.
Right, because he can survive going into.
He wants. Well, not just that. He wants to wear it too.
Oh, exactly. He gets it for free though. He's on the
That's
company
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
But no. So they are in this little submersible that's going down. And they're getting these random little pendants, and they're like, if it does this, let us know. If you experience this, let us know. And they're not telling them where they're going.
Yeah. Or what's going to happen when they do let someone else know.
Right.
They're just going to kill him. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory there.
So we continue with this dive in the gloves of the Taken King, which go like this. A compact submersible of Elixni design finishes its descent through the hazy depths of Titan's methane ocean. The craft's sea floor landing kicks up a cloud of dark silt and microbial life, shimmering like stars. The submersible's dorsal airlock cracks open with a rush of bubbles, and then slowly folds down into a ramp, allowing a trio of figures armored in deep diving gear to emerge. The submersible's single floodlight sweeps across the ocean floor, revealing the alien landscape of twisting coral. Fenchurch approaches one of the coral growths, running a gloved hand over its surface. These polyps, he mutters. Is this? He stops suddenly at the sound of a mechanical snap and turns to see Chalco and Lisbon 13 plant a large mechanical spire in the ground. Internal lights flicker on as the spire whirs to life, creating a regulated field of water pressure around the submersible. Fenchurch steps away from the coral, rubbing his fingers together. He looks to the spire as its sides open like a flower and release several drones, each outfitted with floodlights. The drones swim out ahead, revealing the disorienting flicker of what looks like the water's surface, but at an impossibly vertical angle. This way, Chelko directs as she turns to follow the drones. Fenchurch and Lisbon look at one another, steady themselves, and fall in line behind their fire team leader. Stop me if you've heard this one before, Fenchurch says, anxiously checking the talisman clipped to his armor. 2 hunters and a warlock walk into the deep. And that's the end of that one.
Nah, it's usually 3 warlocks.
Well, if you're going for a flawless run, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're on the ocean floor.
Yep.
And we're walking around as if everything's fine.
Yeah. Now, Fenchurch does recognize that the coral down here is egregore.
Yep. Because that's what we're chasing in the deep dive missions. Yep. To help strengthen Sloane's connection to Asa.
Right.
But it's obviously it's clearly growing everywhere. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So they're on their way, and we're gonna follow them in the vestment of the Taken King, the chess piece, which goes like this. Chelko Yong disappears behind the shimmering curtain of surface tension. Lisbon 13 follows without hesitation, leaving Fenchurch to stare at the vertigo-inducing vertical plane of water. He reaches out, hesitantly touching the surface, only for Lisbon to reach back, grab him by the wrist, and yank him the rest of the way through. Everest, Lisbon mutters once he pulls Fenchurch to the other side. The warlock doesn't even realize he's hyperventilating. Get it together. He gives Fenchurch a warning look, and then nods at Chelko walking ahead across the maddeningly dry ground. It takes Fenchurch a moment to realize that he is not underwater anymore. Liquid methane drips off his suit and turns to ice when it hits the compacted silt. The cavernous space is suffocatingly dark. It will be hours yet before the sun rises on this section of Titan, yet the lambent shades of starlight twinkling in the void beyond fill Fenchurch with a lurching sense of dread. He wants to ask, "Where are we?" But the words fail to get past his lips. Instead, Fenchurch gathers himself and joins Chelko at her side. Chelko raises her hand, and 3 drones come to heel behind her. We are the only extant team of Hidden to visit this site. She then sends the drones up into the air with a wave. What you are about to see is not to be discussed outside of official reports. Fenchurch takes a step forward, squinting against the dark, until the drones sweep the terrain with their floodlights. And then, as the alien landscape comes into focus, one word escapes his lips. Oryx. And that's the end of that one.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, so what the hell are they doing here?
So they are a team of Hidden. So this is part of Ikora's kind of secret spy organization. And presumably they are here now that we know Oryx is here to study and secure the site.
Yeah. Same thing they did with Savathun.
Yep.
Like that's the Hidden for Ikora are like they're kind of everything. Like they do all the different stuff. Now, this is probably no, I don't think they're the same people. I'm curious if any of these people are mentioned in any of the other Hidden reports. Like Lisbon sounds familiar. What the Chelchus?
Chelko.
Is that the one you're Chelko?
Yeah.
I'm thinking Chelchus. What is Chelko?
There's Doom of Chelchus, which is a scout rifle.
That's where the brain's going. Yeah. You know me and my squirrel brain. It hears one sound and it connects it to another and says that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Chelko is referenced in a few areas.
Yeah, I remember that one.
She is referenced in the Hidden dossier.
Yep.
She's, from what I gather from that dossier, she's kind of the most senior or has the most personal relationship with Ikora.
Yep.
They're kind of pen pals in a way in
I
the
think
hidden
so. Yeah.
dossier.
I think she might be. Uh, I think you're right in seniority too. She might be like the head of the hidden, is what it seems like. Because I mean, who else would you send to these high priority sites? Like that just seems to make sense to me. Obviously, Ikora is the head of the hidden,
Right.
but this guardian is like the number two in command, like her right hand man type thing.
Yeah, she's the senior agent, I suppose.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and she shows up also in some other areas. The Vesper of Radius lore card has her. I say Lisbon also shows up in a number of places. I say Lisbon shows up on some of the Garden of Salvation armor.
Yep.
And so like they're these are established characters. They have been doing other things in the lore as part of the hidden for quite some time now.
Yep.
But so yeah, they get to the site and their little drone lights pop up and they start seeing what it is that's in here, and it's the man himself. And we get to see what they do next in the boots of the Taken King, which go like this. What appeared to be a silhouette of coral growths in the dark is revealed to be the mountainous remains of Oryx, the Taken King. The hive god's immense carcass lays strewn across Titan's sea floor, and both Lisbon 13 and Fenchurch are taken aback by the sight, but Chelko advances toward it. The Lucent Brood performed a ritual here. Chelko motions to the shattered remains of a hive ghost on the ground. We believe they were trying to forcibly resurrect Oryx by combining heretical hive necromancy with the power of that ghost. They were disrupted. Lisbon steps forward, unable to look away from Oryx's cadaverous face. Is that possible? Officially, no. Unofficially, Chelko glances at Lisbon. That's what we're here to investigate. The body is still active, with taken energy and darkness energy. The Guardians who intercepted this ritual reported finding free-floating fragments of consciousness on the way to this site. Memories from the corpse. It's alive? Fenchurch whispers, hesitant to approach Oryx's remains. Chalco shakes her head. That's unclear. We need to bring back samples for further analysis. Ikora wants this entire site quarantined and the body exhumed, pending transport to a secure location for further analysis. Fenchurch checks his talisman. Still black. He glances between Chalco and the corpse. Are we the first team to come down here? Chalco looks at Fenchurch and then down to the ground, and her gaze lingers there for a moment in silence. Finally, she fixes her gaze ahead to the corpse. We are the only extant team of Hidden to have visited this site. And that's the end of that one.
Not exactly a direct answer, and not exactly acknowledging, but not denying.
Yeah.
There's some fucking shit going on here.
I'm guessing they've sent, either they're referring to our Guardian, our team.
That's what I'm thinking.
That got here first.
Because she specifically said we're the first hidden
yeah
group to come here. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that we definitely stumbled across it on accident and was like, hey, guess what we intercepted and found? And Ikora was like, you what now?
Yeah. Now, another interpretation might be that they've attempted to send less qualified people before they sent the
Oh,
hidden, and none of them
introducing the talisman
survived.
system.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
she had
Okay,
some very
that might
specific
make more sense.
things
Yeah.
to be like, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens. So maybe those are all ways that previous non-hidden teams have succumbed to this area.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
But the other thing I want to point out here, well, actually two things. One, in reference to the calcified fragments that held all of the Shivu recordings that we just went through, they are described here as fragments of consciousness. They are
Yeah.
recordings of memories from Oryx's body.
Yep.
They are literally memories of Oryx or his corpse after death, listening to Shivu Arath talk to him.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Again, that's like that to me says more about the power of darkness than anything. Like we had this glaive that we brought back to life. Like we had a dead worm that like showed its memories to us. Like an object should theoretically live for eternity, like until it breaks down into its base components of the hydrogen and carbon and titanium and all that other shit, or even further down into like protons, neutrons, electrons. But until it does that, it still should technically remember everything around it. So therefore, anything that it's been exposed to should have that memory. And darkness can just be like, bloop, plug that right out. So yeah.
Now, the other thing that's interesting here is that the body is still active.
Active. That was an interesting word that they used. There was active, not alive.
Right.
And when Finchurch follows up, it's like it's alive, and she's like,
we don't
unknown.
really know. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, what the fuck does active mean? I've never described a body as active.
Right.
Like
yeah. So if nothing else, though, I think this is telling us that even if Oryx is dead, his body had so much taken / dark energy stored in it that it is still leaking out into the environment around it.
That's fucking mind blowing.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what happens when you become a god.
Well, yeah, now there's another way that we could interpret that, which is talked about in the next lore card, which is the final one, the bond of the Taken King, the class item. And that one says this. Message to Ikora Ray. Spectrological analysis indicates the concentration of taken energy within the cellular structure of the subject's remains. Resonance indicative of active darkness presence lacking both direction and willpower. Cellular analysis indicates slow but active mitosis, explaining the exaggerated size of the remains when compared to the subject's last known physical dimensions. The mind is gone, but the body continues to grow. Comparative analysis to samples with remains of the subject WQS do not match. WQS shows no sign of mitosis. May be a compounding effect from worm severance and exposure to light. Autopsy revealed no presence of a worm carcass within TKO remains. Status unknown. Prolonged exposure to TKO causes vivid audiovisual hallucinations due to combined exposure to taken and darkness energies. ERI notes similarities to the object of interest, COS. Cataloged recollections from the initial Guardian fire team exposed to the site indicate WGX frequently visited the remains to grieve. TKO is capable of absorbing knowledge and events, but is incapable of reacting to them. It is my professional recommendation that the remains of TKO should be destroyed. It poses a threat to the safety of humanity, far outweighing any potential knowledge value. Message end. So, real quick, that message was from Fenchurch. The next message is from Chelko, who also is sending to Ikora and says, attached to Fen's analysis are quarantine recommendations from ERI and my own analysis of object NEV for comparison to TKO. My recommendation is as follows. Reclassify POIs to segment queries, quarantine remains to off-site location, and limit direct exposure to frames and mechanical intelligence. There is too much of value here to simply throw away. Message ends. And that is the end of the card.
Okay. I have some thoughts, but we're going to go through this a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to go through each acronym.
Yep.
First acronym, WQS, Witch Queen Savathun.
Yes.
Next acronym, TKO, the Taken King.
Taken King Oryx, yep.
Taken King Oryx. Next acronym, ERI, that's Eris Morn.
Yep.
What's another one? There's a couple more in there that
yep.
I missed.
So the next one, and I'm not really sure about this, is COS.
That's what I was going to add. What the fuck is COS?
And
Court of Savathun?
Prolonged exposure to the Taken King causes vivid audio-visual hallucinations due to combined exposure to Taken and Darkness energies. Eris notes similarities to Object of Interest COS. And I'm trying to think...
What object would be COS?
Right.
Corpse of Savathun?
But they call her WQS up top.
Right. They already have her. Yeah. I don't know, man.
So I'm not
COS.
entirely sure what COS
All right. Well, we got a mystery.
Somebody's
gonna find it out. Is that our listeners' homework for the weekend?
I mean, if someone knows, that'd be great.
If somebody figures it out and they've got it, like, please tweet it at us.
Oh.
I don't. Uh-oh.
COS, I bet, is Crown of Sorrow.
Oh, shit.
So,
yeah.
Prolonged hallucinations, combined dark and Taken energies. So, yeah, Crown of Sorrow, I bet.
Okay. Well, guess what? We did your homework for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so Crown of Sorrow.
Okay. Yeah, nope. Okay.
Now here's another one though. So in Chelko's, she says, attached to Fenchurch's analysis are quarantine recommendations from Eris and my own analysis of object NEV for comparison to TKO.
NEV.
Nocris
Necromancer?
The only thing I can think of with a V would be the Veil. So like Neptune Veil or Neomuna Veil?
Neomuna Veil? I don't know. Maybe.
It just seems... I don't know. It doesn't quite fit. Like it kind of does, but not 100%.
All right. New homework assignment.
Right? Yeah.
If anyone can figure this out, tweet it at us.
Yeah,
we figured out the first one. The Crown of Sorrow fits. I think that's very much what COS is. But NEV, man, I've got nothing. Neomuna Veil is probably the closest.
Just trying to think what else has a V in it.
Right. I got nothing, man. Any weapons? Any locations? Any sparrows? Hell, I'm pulling stuff out of thin air now.
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
Well, either way, I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are if you have an idea of what that might be. But yeah, so that's the last acronym.
I do like that they specifically say like keep this thing away, like keep the remains because yeah, we definitely want the knowledge from him, but keep it away from shit that can react with it, like
Yeah.
machines and stuff, because we don't know if it can access those machines.
Well, they're saying the other way around. It says quarantine remains to offsite location and limit direct exposure to frames. I think they're saying make so the only things that have direct exposure are frames and mechanical intelligences.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
not
Something that doesn't have an active conscious.
yeah, not limit as in don't bring those, limit as in only allow those.
Gotcha, gotcha. I was thinking it was more of like anything that has any type of usable intelligence, be it software or consciousness, that this body of Oryx could take over and do stuff with.
Yeah. No, I think they're more worried about like the hallucinations and the
Yep,
effect it has on living people. And they're like, just
yep,
put robots in there.
yep. That'll work.
But it's also interesting to see here. Fenchurch is very much like destroy
Kill
this,
it.
get rid
Get
of it.
rid of it.
This is bad
It's bad.
news. And where Chalco is like, yeah, we're gonna quarantine it like we did Savathun and who knows what else.
This is I don't know, man. Hidden might
I mean
Warlocks might be a little dumb.
they're the Area 51 of the Destiny world.
I'm just saying, Warlocks might be a little dumb.
Might be a little too curious for their own good.
Yeah.
But the other thing worth pointing out here, so autopsy revealed no presence of worm carcass. So that worm
For sure missing.
Isn't in the
I
body.
have no idea. Yeah.
And the other thing is that cellular analysis indicates slow but active mitosis.
Yeah, the thing is growing.
Yeah. The mind is gone, but the body continues to grow.
What the hell?
So it's almost like Oryx is in a vegetative state. Like
that's what it sounds like.
His body is still going. Like the cells are still reproducing and multiplying.
Here's a question. Did we actually kill him?
That is the question.
That's kind of like if he's still growing, is he somewhere in a throne world? Is he being stored in an oversoul somewhere?
Well, here's another question. I imagine
because we killed him on his ship. His ship is an extension of his throne world. So to me, we killed him in his throne world.
Yes.
But did we?
No, I think we absolutely did. Otherwise, Savathun would not have gone to all the trouble to try and,
to try to res him.
Right.
Yep. Nope. I got you
now,
there.
The question is his body been like this, where this active mitosis has been going on since our fight with him, or was the resurrection ritual half successful?
Shit.
Did they actually bring life back to the cells of the body, but weren't able to,
but it's mind dead.
Bring the consciousness back.
It's brain dead. Oh my God. Maybe that's what necromancy can do. Oh, because of the hive.
Yeah.
In the thing. Dude. Maybe it did work. Maybe they did res him. And they were just trying to get a consciousness into him, and they couldn't get the consciousness connected.
Yeah, which that would, maybe that's where the light comes into play. Like, because the light can remake a person.
Shit.
They're like trying to force the ghost to remake the mind, a blank version of the mind of Oryx, and put it in that body.
Oh my God, Myth! What if it worked? What if they did it? What if this is necromancy? What if necromancy is what has been accomplished here in this dungeon, and Oryx's body is, again, I'm going to put this in quotations, but alive, active, I guess is
right.
the word to put there. But it just has no consciousness to guide it, nothing to move the bits. So now all we need is a connection to Strand, and then we can move the bits.
Does
Oryx have meaty bits?
Oryx may be a bit of a ticking time bomb.
he might just be all meaty bits.
For now.
For now. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, no, this is crazy myth.
So
holy shit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. We did bad, maybe. Or we didn't get there in time, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what to think now.
Yeah. Well, regardless, that is gonna close out our discussion on the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon.
The deep dive into the deep dungeon. Yeah. I like it. Well, we got one little extra bit that we forgot to include in last episode because we got too excited. And we're gonna kind of throw it in here because it's super small, super tiny.
Yeah.
The reveal.
Yeah.
The PlayStation thing did a thing, and we got surprised with the final shape. And the body was in there, and it was talking. And my wife had to watch it multiple times and was crying the entire time. What the fuck, Myth?
So, for those not in the know, and I guess to pause, for anyone that is trying to stay super blind about anything Final Shape, we are now done with the dungeon lore. We're transitioning into the Final Shape teaser trailer. If you are not interested in that information, now's your time.
Yeah, we won't fault you for stopping the episode now.
Yeah. But so Final Shape teaser trailer shows us Ikora in a kind of like savanna type setting. There's some grass and some, you can't really tell the color, but it looks like red rock kind of plateaus and stuff around, sitting at a campfire, talking to somebody. Essentially saying like these are all of the accomplishments we've made in recent years, and her ghost is floating there next to her, and she ends her description of our accomplishments by saying, "I wish you could have been there," and we get the big reveal, starting at the hand with the Ace of Spades, panning up to the face of Cade 6.
Just saying, I know, kiddo.
Yep. Saying like, he goes, but I'm here now.
I'm here now. Wherever the fuck here is. He doesn't say that. He leaves the expletive out, but he's wherever the here is. Like, what the hell, Myth?
Technically, he says wherever the hell here is. But,
yeah.
And then
what
we get...
the hell, Myth?
And then we get a zoom out from this campfire, and it shows the land, and we see this kind of rocky and green rolling hill with a river that's carving its way in the middle, and above the river, dead center in the frame, is another purple triangular portal like what is right outside the Traveler right now in game.
Holy fucking shit, Myth.
Yeah, so
Cade 6 is coming back.
It's
you have no idea how much, like, I absolutely adore Nathan Fillion.
Yes.
And when Bungie came back and confirmed, like, yes, he is voicing it. Yes, he is coming back. I was just like, bah! What do we do, Myth? So yeah, my wife adores him. She loves Castle, loves Firefly. Like, I always thought that the Hunter Vanguard, Cade 6, that role was literally written for Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion loves, or at least from what I can tell from the guy, I don't know him personally, but the demeanor he has, he loves that space cowboy feel. There's a few episodes of Castle where he's wearing his outfit from Firefly,
yep.
And they're like, "What are you supposed to be?" And he's like, "Come on, space cowboy! Like, I love this old outfit." And like, I don't know, man. He will always be like, I never jumped on Firefly at the beginning, but after having gone back and watching Serenity, he's Mal. Like, he screams Mal, and the Hunter Vanguard screams Mal. Like, It's so much that role, and so for him to be coming back. But there are a few big things to note here.
Yes.
One, the Ace of Spades is cracked. It's because we have the Ace of Spades. We own the gun. We as the Guardian own the gun. We as VIP 2014, the only named Guardian, I guess, in all of Destiny history, own Ace of Spades. We picked it up. We brought it to Banshee. We repaired it. We put the catalyst in it. We own it. So what the fuck is in his hands? It's cracked with light. How the hell? Like, what the hell?
Right.
Don't have any explanation for that. And Sundance, his ghost, isn't there. There's no point where we see Sundance throughout this little teaser trailer.
Yeah.
So, myth, thoughts?
So, a couple thoughts. The first, the reason why him having Ace of Spades is so important is, because most of the time it's like, yeah, exotics, just everyone has one, even if it supposedly belonged to somebody. Well, for those that maybe didn't play during Forsaken, we had an entire quest chain that was Cade bequeathing Ace of Spades to us kind of in his final will.
Like post-death. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, in a will, yeah.
So it is canon that he gave that to us. So for him to have Ace of Spades or something that looks like Ace of Spades is a pretty big deal, because it does make you wonder where did that come from. Now I think the kind of like cracked motif is going to be really important.
It reminds me of like the Traveler's Chosen.
Yeah. Yep. Traveler's Chosen gun, where it has kind of the cracks down it that are glowing white out of it.
Yep. Like light is like pouring out of this gun.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think that's what this is. So we have light kind of pouring out of Ace of Spades in the same way. And then Cade's face, the rest of his body's covered obviously, but his face, he's an exo, for those that didn't know, which is, some people might honestly not know. He was an exo, and instead of the traditional like normal colored exo eyes and mouth, which I believe were yellow on Cade, it is bright light glowing out of his mouth and his eyes, and like the crack. There's that same kind of cracked texture happening around the sides of his mouth. My initial thought, trying to figure out what might be happening here, and again, all speculation, all spin foil. My initial thought is that, okay, I think Cade's body is still dead. I think Cade on our side of the portal is still dead. This Cade, I'm theorizing, is the image of Cade made entirely out of light. And so that brought me about the thought track of like, what happens to a Guardian when they die?
Yeah.
Because this is a subject that has never really been broached in Destiny at all.
Do they return to the light?
As far as I remember.
What happens to a light bearer?
Right. Like
any light bearer, not necessarily a Guardian, like even Hive light bearers.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no,
what the fuck happens to
absolutely.
them?
And there's you could argue that removing the talks about certain religious beliefs and the different afterlives there and whatnot, but from the perspective of like a Guardian's body is, at least originally, reanimated from the light. And if we want to get real philosophical about this, we have to ask ourselves the question of, are they bringing this dead person, skeleton in some cases, are they bringing that person, the soul of that person, wherever they went after they perished? Is it bringing that person back to life, or is it rebuilding that person's body and copying a new consciousness into it that is as much of the old one as the ghost can scan?
So I've got maybe two thoughts to this.
Yeah.
Well, first off, I just want to address the portal. Are we thinking this is like the other side of the portal?
I
like
really
it's too
think
similar to not be, right?
Like it seems like that is a very, I feel like that's the point they're trying to make. You know, like
this is the other side.
And maybe it's a misdirect, but it seems like they're trying to very specifically make a point of like, this is the other side.
Yeah. So again, kind of coming back to the idea of a guardian and what gets res, there's that kind of like inkling in the back of your mind that what if ghosts aren't of the light?
Yeah, we did talk about that at one point.
And if that connection to the veil, that's what gets them talking to the dark, like maybe they are partially agents of the dark. We don't know. Like, we truly don't know where ghosts come from. Ghosts say they were all released from the Traveler, but ghosts are the only ones that know that for sure.
And even then, some ghosts don't remember that event happening.
Exactly. So what if the ghosts are just putting back together a body and just the body they're doing memory to it. They're doing darkness to it. And making the body, making the squishy bits or skeleton bits or whatever bits remember what it can of the consciousness that inhabited it.
And so if they're doing that,
that's a fucky thing. First off,
that is, yes.
I mean, that explains why we as guardians can use light and dark.
Yeah, it would.
But that's like a giant like fuck you to the entire philosophical way of the guardian. Like,
well,
holy shit.
To be fair, the game's been doing a lot of that over the last 2 years. So
it's been driving me nuts. Like, oh, dark light, it's all gray, whatever. They kind of mesh together and make a little gray filmy bit. Like, no, you can't stop it.
Yeah, but
so yeah, like, what the fuck?
But regardless of if it's bringing the original consciousness or soul or whatever you want to call it back into this reformed body, or it's making a new one in some way, this being is now a being that may be of light and dark, but is most certainly has light in it.
Sure.
So perhaps what we're seeing is on the other side of this portal.
Oh, like a repository.
Right. Like where does that person go when they can't be resurrected? Maybe this is like the guardian afterlife in a way.
Oh my God.
Or light is just energy.
Right.
So that energy is now taking the form of this person. So maybe it's taking that form.
Consciousness strong enough. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe if that person's will and their consciousness is that strong, it just holds together on the other side of the portal. Holy shit, Myth.
Now, the other thought here, because they're specifically showing Ikora and Cade, we know from...
And Ikora's got her ghost with her there, too.
And Ikora has her ghost.
Another important thing.
Yes, Ikora does have her ghost. Cade very much does not. And they go to great lengths to show Ikora's ghost.
Yep.
Now, the other thing here, Ikora and Cade have always had a very strong bond of friendship. And we know that Ikora very much regrets what happened to Cade and kind of her inaction following those events.
She wanted a war. Yeah. She wanted to bring down hellfire on the reef.
And we can see in Season of the Haunted, there's a lore card in there talking about how Ikora went to the Leviathan very briefly and her nightmare that haunted her that she could not deal with, that she had to turn around and leave the Leviathan, was a nightmare of Cade.
Yeah.
Now, if this is not a place of light, if we have transitioned into a place of dark, or a place that, honestly, if we've transitioned into the original garden, the universe, the parent universe,
the universe above our universe, yeah,
right. If we have transitioned from the Destiny universe into the garden that made the Destiny universe, that garden existed in a space where, if we remember, and this is getting a little technical, so bear with me. If we remember, the beings that existed in that garden, the worms and the dragonflies, existed fed off the difference between what is and what would be, or what could be. Perhaps Ikora being in this place of limitless possibility has either consciously or unconsciously willed a Cade into existence in this space.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
It is.
That's crazy, but it's not like impossible.
Like, she might have just missed him that much.
That much. Yeah, no, absolutely.
That, she made a wish.
Some fucky wish dragon. Yes.
And I don't know that she made a wish on a wish dragon, but if she was in the garden where anything is possible, she may have made a wish, and the garden just happened.
Granted it. Yeah. It doesn't need a wish dragon. It just happens. The one thing that like has me questioning, like, I feel like this might be a physical place somewhere in our plane of existence, is because you can see the sky every so often, and it does have stars in it. So that's like my one thing that I'm like, true. I'm not 100%. I like this idea. I am, until told otherwise, that's the idea I'm going with, because that seems to make sense. This place of possibilities, this place of like, she just wanted it to happen so badly that he just appeared and he's made of light. Like,
yeah.
But like, he doesn't fucking know, like, wherever the hell here is, like,
right.
Yeah, I think I like that theory the most. And again, they're very, very. All this is spinfoil. Like, all this is just like what ifs.
This is all unsubstantiated. We are just pulling random shit,
jumping off, like trying to connect the dots of like, okay, well, we know this. So if we go off the logic of this is the correct course of action here. So yeah, like, I don't know, man. This is all just. I don't know. I have no words for this other than fuck yeah, let's get Cade back. Let's get Nathan Fillion back. Like, let's go. As far as this scene, yay, Cade's back. That's it. That's all I have.
Yeah. I think we've kind of reached the point where, like, anything beyond this point is just going to be random.
It is.
Throwing shots at the dark. So
we'll find out in what, 3 months? 2 months?
Yeah,
August 22nd?
Yep.
Alrighty.
So I'll be looking forward to that. You can bet that we're going to be talking about it.
We absolutely are.
But yeah, so for now, that's I think that's going to wrap things up for tonight.
Absolutely. Well, then let's do some shout outs then. What do we got?
Yeah, so we've got a couple shout outs tonight. The first one is coming to us from Twitter. And this is from John Claus, who says, I've been listening to you guys for about a month. I listened to all the Bray backstory. You guys do a fantastic job of bringing all the lore bits together from all over the Destiny universe to tell the stories of some of my favorite characters. I love Shayura's story and glad you took the time to tell it. I don't know if y'all have told her story yet, but Honor would be an interesting one to tell. Love the podcast. Keep it up.
Honor of the Praxic Order.
Yep.
Yeah, that I think that'd be a fun one. That one, the story of the Vanguard. I love all these ideas that y'all are giving us. Like, these are fantastic. We're gonna cover all of them. That's all I'm gonna say. There is we're just gonna keep going till we run out of stories. Like, there are plenty of stories in Destiny, and we're just gonna keep telling them because we really fucking like him.
Yeah. But
So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you enjoyed Shira. I at least, and I
That was
think
so fun.
I think Zora as well now.
That was so much more fun than I like.
Yeah, I like that one
hit
a
home
lot.
for me. That hit home hard for me. So yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Honor is definitely on the list. I don't know when, but it will happen eventually for sure. But yeah. So our next shout out for the evening comes to us from Audible in this case, from someone that is just titled Kindle customer. So, and they say, these gentlemen are some of the finest storytellers I have listened to. Myth has great original theory crafting and phenomenal voice acting. I'm glad you think so.
Fuck yeah, he does.
While Zorialis has the most wholesome emotional reactions and knowledge of real world science. After listening, you will find yourself with a fresh understanding of the Destiny universe, a physics degree, and a love of merchandising, and the inability to shoot half of the enemies in Destiny 2.
Merchandising. That's what we do out here on the reef. Now I'm in the city and I do merchandising in my bar in the city. Yeah. Dude, I literally can't kill half the things in Destiny. I'm getting to the point I can't kill Hive now. Like, shit. I'm literally gonna be a healer, dude.
Yep.
I'm just gonna be Lumina, Boots of the Assembler, Warlock, and just sit in the corner and be like, I'm not shooting that. I'm not doing damage to that. I'll help you heal it. I'll give you a buff, but I'm not doing damage to that.
See, but the problem is that you have to kill things with Lumina to get noble rounds to then heal people.
Shit, I thought I could just throw my rift down and Boots of the Assembler would activate noble rounds for Lumina.
I don't think it works anymore. Maybe it does.
Damn it.
I don't know.
Damn it. Request more Healy guns.
Oh.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for.
Yes, thank you very much.
I do like the physics degree. Like, I love science, and math and history. Those are like my three. No particular order there. Top favorite things in the world. So yeah, this Destiny lets me put all of that to practical use.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Well, I guess I got a quick thank you. I'm going to thank the voice actor, Kimberly.
Oh, I heard
you're going to have to remind me.
I think it was Kimberly Brooks.
How dare you? Kimberly Brooks. That is right. Thank you, Kimberly Brooks, for voicing Zero Wrath and doing it phenomenally. Holy shit. Like,
yes.
The emotion portrayed in those little fragments were fucking amazing. Like, I terrified and scared and crying and made me feel feelings. Like, no, this is God of War. We want her dead. I think. I don't know. All right. Myth, you got anything else? Got our little plug on where to find us and stuff?
If you liked what you heard, feel free to leave a review on your platform of choice. If that platform happens to have the ability for text reviews and you feel strongly enough to leave one, we encourage you to do so. We go through and read those and enjoy seeing what you guys what you like, or in some cases what you think might need improvement. And if you don't want to do it on any of those, you can reach out to us on our Twitter, which is @MythsAndStories with a Z instead of an S. We check that every now and again, and you may hear yourself show up as a future shout out.
And remember, you've got homework. We've got to figure out what NEV is.
That's right. We need what could the acronym NEV stand for?
I got nothing, dude. I got nothing.
I know. I was trying to think.
It's the first three letters of my last name, and that's about as far as I got.
Yeah.
I got nothing. So yeah, if y'all can figure out what the acronym NEV would pertain to in connection with the Taken, Oryx, Savathun, the Hive, the Hidden, anything, to throw it up on our Twitter. We'll see if we can sort through them and see if we can come to a conclusion of what the hell NEV is. But anything else, Smith?
No, that's it.
Alrighty. Well, then from all of us lore daddies to all of you guardians out there, we'll see you next week.